Hello, Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. TV Toastmasters Club 9523 is in session. I'd like to welcome all of our audience members as well as our members here in the TV studio audience. It's a beautiful spring day. I am ready for winter to be over. We've had too much snow and too much cold this year, so I am very much looking forward to the spring. The other great thing which is occurring right now is the NCAA basketball tournament. This is my favorite sporting event of the year. It's 3 weekends where I plan to do nothing but sit on the couch and watch basketball for 3 straight weeks. Now, of course, I have a wife and a 2-year-old who don't seem to buy into that plan. So there's a lot of negotiation that will go on this afternoon. But I actually love this time of year. We have a great audience today, quite a few people in attendance. I would like to welcome one of our guests today, Mr. Roy Roberts. Roy's been with us several times, and we're hoping he will become a member within the next several meetings. So please welcome Roy. We have a great show this morning. I'd like to welcome all of you in the TV audience now. We meet the third Saturday of every month at 9 a.m. We meet at the beautiful new Anderson Center. It's located at 7850 5 Mile Road in Anderson Township. Also, we have another treat I'd like to announce. If you have the opportunity, we do have an area international speech and evaluation contest, which will be March 31st at 6 p.m. It'll be located at the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. With that, I'd like to begin our meeting by introducing our Toastmaster for today. Please welcome Laura Lee Gayfield.
Thank you, Darren. Hello, everybody. Happy spring. I tried to wear spring colors today, and I see that several of us did here in the studio, and I'm sure you guys at home are also putting on the jacket when it's cold outside in the morning and then carrying it out to your car when you leave work in the afternoon because the temperature is warmed up. 'Tis the season. We have a wonderful lineup of impromptu speaking and prepared speeches for you available today for your listening enjoyment. Part of our impromptu speaking is to try and work a particular word of the day in, and to explain more about the word power all counter rule, please welcome Gary Reese. Gary.
Thank you, Laura Lee. The purpose of the word of the day is not just to try and give you a word that's not in your vocabulary, but to give you a word that may be misused, or maybe to enrich your vocabulary. Our word, and by the way, the opportunity is for each and every person who comes up here to the lectern from this point onward to use that word, to challenge them, because nobody knew what the word of the day was going to be. I kept this sealed, hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar. The word of the day today is bombastic. Bombastic. And what that word means, it's grandiloquent, pompous speech or writing. It's from Old French, from the medieval Latin, bombax, bombac. It's an adjective of speech or writing. It means high-sounding, highfalutin, high-flown, inflated, and pretentious. If you see somebody trying to be something they're not through their speech, there's a good chance they're being bombastic. Again, I encourage every person who comes up here to use the word bombastic in some way, shape, or form. I also will be counting all the ahs, the ums, the verbal garbage, things that aren't necessarily needed. We call those killer fillers. You don't necessarily want to use the ahs, ums, uhs. Watch President Obama use a number of those during the course of presentations when he's talking off the cuff, but when he's giving a speech, there's no ahs, ums in there whatsoever because he's reading from a prompter. And lastly, I will be the defender of the King's language, looking for any possible misuse of grammar. So keep this in mind. If you're in Toastmasters, people will talk about your grammar or your grandpa.
Our studio audience, some practice in their impromptu speaking today. Please welcome our Tabletopics master, Sheila Mudd Baker. Sheila.
Well, I could be the first one to use the word bombastic. I've spent most of my life being bombastic, and now that I'm older, I'm working on being less pretentious and more real. I thought I was real before, but now that I've used the word bombastic enough times, I will move on to table topics. Let me explain what a table topic is. It is an impromptu question given to a member of the audience in this case, and that particular person has 1 to 2 minutes to answer the question. They don't know what the question is until I ask it. You know what that's like? That's like being in a business meeting, being asked at the last minute, like, where were you? Think about all the times when you were a teenager. If you had a lot of practice at table topics, you could have fooled your parents, maybe. Don't tell your children about Toastmasters until they're at least 18, so you can be safe. My first question of the day is this. So everyone has to pay attention, and then I will call on the person. It's spring. It's beautiful. I absolutely love spring. But not everybody does. For example, those of us who have allergies probably don't love spring as much as those who don't have allergies. What is it about spring that you particularly love? Roy, please come on up.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
What I enjoy about spring is the glorious mornings, the cool temperatures, the cool nights, the flowers are blossoming, the birds are making nests. Nature is really very glorious during spring. Therefore, I really enjoy spring. Thank you very much.
When I think of spring, I think of poetry. I think of great musicals such as Camelot or great poets like Shakespeare. So I'm going to call on the most poetic member of our group, Don. Don, come tell us what poetry you think of.
Poetry, springtime poetry. I can remember back at high school, I wrote a poem about spring. Now let's see if I can remember it. I'm sure not the whole thing. It had about 5 or 6 stanzas to it. Spring. It's a young man's fancy that lightly turns to love. It's the cooing in the morning of the sleepy turtle dove. That was one of the stanzas. Can't quite bring back any of the other ones. It's been such a long time. But yeah, spring reminds me of poetry, of the flowers that start to bloom, of being on the track team. Every spring we used to run track, and that was a favorite time of year for me, kind of a competitive time, and time for a sport that I enjoyed, running the hurdles. So that's about all the time that I have, so thank you. Thanks.
Aren't you glad I didn't ask you about springtime poetry? In this time of economic crisis, all of us are trying to figure out ways to save money. So Gary, tell us what you're doing to save money.
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master. One way I save money is I take my wife and my family and we go to Golden Corral and we just stay there for a week at a time. It's air conditioned in the summertime. There's plenty of food to choose from. This explains the portly presentation I make here at the stage. Truthfully, I like to go to ball games. And if you watch little league games, that doesn't cost you anything. You get to see competition at its best. You get to, and I'm talking about between the parents and the stands. And that's a fantastic way to spend a summer's afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday just watching Little League kids play. Especially when you've got the little itty bitty kids that are playing t-ball, and they hit the ball and they run towards third base instead of towards first, and then they try to steal from third to first. Just cut out the middleman at second base altogether. Those are all fun. It reminds me of when I was a kid. My father went to the Little League coach and he says, "How's my boy?" And the coach says, "Well, he's small, but he's slow." And a couple years later, I filled out, and I was still in Little League, but it was a bigger version. And my dad went and asked the coach, says, "How's my boy?" He says, "Well, he's big, but he's weak." So that's how I save money.
Many of us live in Cincinnati, but some do not. So, Gordon, tell us what it's like to have spring in Maysville, Kentucky.
Spring normally is a great time of year, of course. The last several years I've been golfing a lot, and we have, as everyone probably knows in this group, we have the Masters coming up in April, and everybody's looking for Tiger Woods to be back in the lineup and to be challenging Mickelson and all the rest of them. So that is normally springtime, very great time of year. This year, spring will be a little bit different. There's a lady in Maysville that I bet you many people here have never heard of. There's two women there. One is Rosemary Clooney, which of course died a few years ago. Her best childhood friend, which again I'm guessing no one has ever heard of, Blanche Chambers. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that lady, but she died about a month ago, 84 years old. She and I had the same birthday, and she was a black lady. I used to sit with her, and she would tell me all her stories. Used to take her to church a lot because she would ride with us. She didn't drive, of course, but during her life, she was Rosemary Clooney's best friend. Rosemary Clooney went away to become famous as a singer, and of course her family. Blanche Chambers chose to stay in Maysville and serve religious purposes in Maysville and help people, and that's what she did. So this spring will be lacking a very important lady in my life and my wife's life, and her name is Blanche Chambers.
Well, we learned a lot about Maysville. I never heard of Blanche Chambers, but I did hear of Rosemary Clooney. Now I'll think of Blanche Chambers whenever I'll think of Rosemary Clooney. I've learned a bit about saving money. Yeah, the Golden Corral, that will kind of spoil my diet, though, if I go to the Golden Corral on a regular basis. We learned a great deal about springtime poetry and running, and Roy told us what he loved about spring. So, Madam Tabletopics, no, I am the Madam Tabletopics Master, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask some questions.
Thank you, Sheila. We didn't plan the green shirts today, but it worked out nicely. And now we'll move on to the portion of our meeting for our prepared speakers, those who have signed up for a speech project, researched it, prepared, and are going to present it to us today. Our first speaker is Mary Arms. She is working on Project 4 in the Competent Communicator Manual. The objective is how to say it. The title of her speech is Lifeline. This is her fourth speech, and is hoping she can give this speech without a fear of public speaking. Please welcome Mary Arms with Lifeline. Mary.
What would you do if you were gone for a day or for a weekend and someone happened to one of your family members or a loved one or even yourself? What would you do if you had a heart attack? You fell from a ladder. You fell in the bathtub. What would you do? Would you help yourself, or would you just lay there and hope someone would find you before it's too late? Yes, there is hope, and hundreds of seniors and people 50 plus and over and even younger have used this product every day, and you don't even have to be a senior to use this product. I'm not a person who's trying to sell this product. I am a person who would like to help others and help protect others when this time comes into their life. This is why I wanted to speak to you about this subject, because it is so dear to my heart. I work in a senior club, card club, and one of the patrons in the facility who had played cards on a Tuesday approximately a few weeks ago. She had said she was going to one of our outings, which we had planned for the next day. But when she did not turn up the following day, I gave her a call, and no one answered. So we thought maybe she was on her way. So as she didn't turn up, so we just went on our way. The following day, which was on a Thursday, she didn't turn up again. So I called her again, still no answer. We hadn't heard from her, no one had heard from her, not even her friend, when we called him. And he said, no, I haven't heard anything. So one of the members called the sheriff department to ask if they would come out and check on her. Well, when they got there, there was 2 days of newspapers on the porch, and the lights were on in her home, and the phone was ringing. Now, the sheriff could not enter the home because without permission of a family member. So the friend of hers daughter came over with a key. When they entered, they started looking for her, and they found her on the bathroom floor. She had a stroke, and she had broken her shoulder. But if it wasn't for the courage of her friends caring for her, she would still probably be there, and no one would have known. Yes, she is still alive, and she is in intensive care, and she's getting the help so that maybe one of these days she can come back and play a game of cards or two. Many seniors and people who live alone or even a loved one have experienced an accident or a stroke, and sometimes there's no one around to help them. I found on the internet a company called Life Alert. Did you know that Life Alert handles over 1 million calls a year and on average saves a life from a catastrophic outcome every 40 minutes, saving over 10,000 lives in 2006 and 3,638 in 2007. There are many different companies out there, and they offer the exact same product as the other companies offer for about the same price, about $40 a month, and for a very small peace of mind. In this country, many people over the age of 65 have a greater percentage of falls, but they are not the only people who have these problems. I am talking to anyone who lives alone, especially women. There are many people who are living with medical problems who would like to have the independence of being by themselves. I am one of the millions of people who live by themselves and has a medical problem, and I am going to purchase one of these products. Yes, I have epilepsy, and this is a safe haven for me and for the other millions of persons who struggle every day. As you've seen in this commercial, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, people have made very bad jokes about this commercial. At first, when the commercial came out, I thought it was a joke too. But over the years, I have noticed that it is not a joke, as I thought it was. Millions of people have purchased this product, and it helped the ones who really needed it. So start exploring this product like Life Alert now, long before you or a loved one will need it. So when you do need it, you will be prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Mary. Very good information. Hopefully it'll help save a life someday. Thank you. Our second prepared speaker today is Darren Henderson. Darren's title is Deal or No Deal, and he will be speaking from the Persuasive Speaking Manual, with his objective being an effective salesperson. He'll be speaking on effective sales techniques, and after the speech, he will take part in a role play involving retail sales opportunities. Please welcome today Darren Henderson, Deal or No Deal.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our TV audience. As I was walking through the shopping malls this past Christmas season, there was many times where I was accosted, actually accosted in a public space. Now, I didn't call the police because these offenders were not criminals, at least not as far as I know. One was a nice-looking young man who had on a tie, dressed very well, but he aggressively told me why I needed to switch cell phone services and why I needed desperately a new cell phone. Now, another was a very attractive young woman who described to me why the lady in my life really needed this newest revolutionary skin cream that she was selling. Now, those two salespeople were ultimately unsuccessful in convincing me, but in all fairness, I really didn't give them much of an opportunity to use their persuasive skills. Persuasion is a process that's used to influence the thoughts and actions of others. Nowhere is persuasion more important than in the field of sales, and particularly in retail sales. Today, I'm going to share with you some proven sales techniques utilizing persuasion in helping retail salespeople to make a sale. Now, even though most of us do not sell products or services for a living, we all sell things every day, all day long. If you're at work and you have a good idea, you sell your boss on that idea. If you're at home and you want to take a certain vacation, sometimes you may need to sell your wife on your choice of a vacation spot versus hers. So whether we realize it or not, we are all salespeople. Now, successful sales strategy contains several key steps. Number one, build rapport with the customer. Before jumping into the sale, make small talk with the customer that will helpfully help you relate to the customer and maybe build a small, tiny bond as well. Second, find out about the customer. Determine his or her needs and goals. Your goal is to get enough information that you can determine which of your products may best fit that customer's needs. Also, ask questions that will help you to determine the customer's current work or home situation. Next, ask open-ended questions which cannot be answered by a simple yes or no answer, so that once again, you can learn more about that customer and hopefully place your products in a better position to meet that customer's needs. Next, introduce possible solutions that you have that will satisfy the needs of your customers. Point out various options as well as specific features that your product may have over a competing product. Key in on how your product will benefit the customer, and particularly benefit the customer in those areas in which they express needs earlier in the conversation. Finally, close the deal by asking for the customer's commitment. Look for signals such as a smile or a nod or affirmative statements about your product. And once that opening presents itself, basically ask for that commitment. If you don't get the commitment, ask if there are any further concerns. And finally, once again, ask confidently whether that customer would like to purchase your product. Now, at this point, I'm going to do a role play with Gordon Kelly, and Gordon is going to be a prospective customer of mine. Gordon has just had a traumatic event in that he has just lost all the files on his home computer. So as he comes into my store, he is looking for some solution to prevent that problem in the future. So please welcome Gordon Kelly. Oh, hello, sir. Good to meet you. What's your name?
Gordon Kelly.
Gordon Darren Henderson.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Well, it's a beautiful day out there today, isn't it?
Great. Yeah.
Great.
Should be golfing instead of looking at computers.
Oh, I agree.
Yep.
I love this time of year, whether it's golfing or baseball. It's just a fantastic time of year. So Gordon, what brings you into the store today?
Well, I was working on my computer at home about 2 days ago, and everything disappeared. I've lost all my files, and that's about 17 years worth of files.
Wow.
So I don't know what to do right now. Whether I wanted to hit the computer with a bat, but I thought, well, maybe somebody could help me. with
Wow.
the files.
That I'm very.
I guess
very
there's
sad to
nothing we
hear
can
that.
do with the way it is today.
Well, what I can help you out with, we don't repair computers in our store, but I will put you in touch with someone I know who's very good, who might be able to retrieve those files for you. So I'll give you that contact information in a few minutes. But there is something that you can do to prevent that happening in the future. There are several different options of being able to store your files. Now, what type of files did you have on this computer?
A lot of email files,
A lot of email
drawings,
files.
that sort of thing.
A lot of pictures,
Pictures, contracts, everything.
everything. Wow, that is pretty traumatic. Well, there are three major ways that you can store your files. Now I'm going to run you through each of those three ways. One, the least expensive way is something called a thumbnail backup, and you've probably seen these. You can just put them in your USB drive. Now nowadays they have up to 8 gigabytes on those thumbnail drives, so you can use that to store files. However, a gentleman like yourself will use your computer for more extensive purposes. Probably isn't going to be happy with that because it only has 8 gigabytes, and if you have drawings and pictures, that really isn't going to hold enough of your data. Another option is to purchase a DVD writer for your computer. With a DVD writer, and that's generally about $100, you will basically have unlimited storage capacity by purchasing DVDs. The good thing about that is you can transfer your file to a DVD, burn the DVD, put it in a separate location. I know some people even put those in safes just in case they had a fire. That's a good way to store your data. The only downside to that, I mean, there's a pro and a con to each of these ways. The downside to that is it takes a little bit more effort because you've got to keep popping in DVDs. Each DVD has about 4.7 gigs on it, so once again, that's not going to store all your files. So you're going to be, you potentially may have 10 DVDs that are going to back up your computer. So that's a good way to get your files archived, but maybe not the most convenient way. The third option I have, which personally, and once again, is something you need to make this decision based upon your own situation. But what I do on my personal computer is I have an external hard drive, and we have you can get a 250 gig external hard drive for about $70, or 500 gig external hard drive for just $20 more, $90. But the great thing about the hard drive is you just plug it into your USB drive, and it becomes another drive on your computer. And you can basically just click and drag files onto that hard drive. So, or you can even set it up to do it automatically, where once a week you'll just back up everything on your computer. So it's very convenient. And I had the same event you had a couple years back where I did lose my computer. Luckily, I had most of my files backed up on this hard drive. And even though I did end up purchasing a new computer, I didn't, lose all the pictures and all the other important documents that we normally keep from our computers. So I really, like I said, I think probably the thumbnail wouldn't work well for you, but I think either the DVD backup or the external hard drive would work very well for you. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess one is I want to make sure this is not a bombastic type sales pitch that you're giving me here, for one. And two is on the hard drive or the devices you're trying to sell me.
Yes.
Is there still a potential possibility that I would lose those files?
You would not lose. It'd be a very, very difficult situation. I can't even comprehend a situation where you would lose both at the same time. And the other option is, if you really want to be safe, and I've known people who do this, like I said, if you purchase with the route of the DVD writer, you could actually back up your files, put those in a separate location, even a safe, for example. So if you had some very traumatic event at your home, even your data could even be recovered if you had a fire, for example, or flood damage. But even so, even the external hard drive, for the most part, your computer will fail separate from the hard drive.
Okay.
I mean, you can even unplug it so that if you had a power surge, it wouldn't necessarily damage that hard drive, but it'd be very rare to lose both at the same time.
I'd be very interested in the hard drive.
Okay, great. Would you like the 250 gigabyte version or the 500?
500.
500. Thanks, Gordon. I'll go into the back and I'll meet you up front and we can finish that transaction.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon, just stay up for a second. Okay. Now, I'd just like to have a quick question and answer session with Gordon and also with the audience members. Gordon, what could I have done better in my sales pitch to you? What could I have done to make you feel more comfortable or to?
I think 90% of the people in the world probably aren't that well, at least my age of people aren't that well educated on computers. So I think as far as an age group, you might offer more service.
Okay. More information or more?
More actual service. Even if I bought the hard drive, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Oh, okay, I understand.
I work on computers all the time, but we always have somebody else do it. So.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Okay, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. did you think that the sales pitch was too aggressive or
Probably not aggressive enough.
Okay. Do you think I should have got more into the sales part earlier on?
Yeah, I think if you make a sale right there on the spot, I would ask for the credit card right away, and I wouldn't meet
Okay.
them up front. I'd just take the credit card. Could change your mind going up front.
And lastly, any from the audience, does anyone want to give any suggestions or feedback on what I could have done differently to gain Gordon's trust or to get that sale more effectively?
What he said about service, because I got an external hard drive for Christmas, which has not been connected because I don't know what to do. And I said, you need to connect it for me and tell me what to do, and they haven't.
Oh, really?
So that about service was a very good
Okay.
point.
Okay. Yes, and Carol's comment was that, along with what Gordon said, Carol mentioned that she actually got an external hard drive for Christmas, and that is still not hooked up because someone purchased a hard drive for her, but they did not hook it up. So I think that's a very good point that both you and Gordon had.
I didn't hear you reference the online backup systems that are available, like Mozy, that, while that's probably not a product you're actually selling in your store, at providing a service to him to let him know that there's something out there and maybe throw in a disadvantage or something to make your product look better if there are disadvantages to that.
And you're right, because I've actually done that also, but the reason I didn't put that in here was just what you said. That's probably not a service that a retail store would normally offer. But and Laura Lee, once again, Laura Lee said that there are online backup services which are very effective, but they also have downsides, mainly because it takes longer to upload your files when you have the online service. So one thing I could have done was mention there are online services. However, this is the drawback. The risk of doing that, of course, is that Gordon may say, wow, that online service sounds really good. So it could be a plus or a minus as far as getting the sale. So, of course, as a salesperson, probably my main goal is not to, in all honesty, I don't completely have Gordon's best interest in mind. My main goal is to make a sale.
Really?
Don?
I was thinking of like getting a response from Gordon after each description, after you describe each device, maybe see if there's any questions or if he understands it or if he has any response to the sales.
Okay. And Don's comment was that I had 3 different options for Gordon, and after each option, what I could have done is restated that option and also asked Gordon, do you have any questions about that option or this option, instead of going through all 3 at once and then asking Gordon for questions. Gary?
I believe that the key to sales is ironing in the sale at the front end of the get to know you time, of the relationship time. Gordon presented himself as somebody who's willing to chit chat with you for a brief moment. So you might have taken advantage of that and gotten a little bit better relationship ironed in, so that trust factor is there.
Okay. And Gary's comment was that since Gordon and I did have a brief interaction regarding the springtime and activities, that I could have gone a little bit further with that opening, and they mentioned that that's one of the things they mentioned as building that rapport. I could have done a more thorough job of building that initial rapport with Gordon, such that when we got down to the sales portion, he would be more invested in trying to purchase a product from me versus someone else. All right. I'd like to thank Gordon especially, and also all of our audience members who had questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you, Gordon, for helping him out with his speech. Our final prepared speech today will be presented by Carol Kormelink. The objective of her speech is to research her topic. In her story, The Rest of the Story, that's the name of her speech, Carol will be sharing some observations she has made about dieting and losing weight. Please welcome Carol Kormelink, The Rest of the Story.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guest at home and in the audience. Have you ever been on a diet? I see lots of head nodding. Did you lose weight? Did you go off the diet? Did you gain that weight back plus a bonus? Diets don't work. For 56 years, I have been studying dieting and losing weight. I have 30 to 40 books. I brought a couple examples today. My first diets back when I was 20 years old was the grapefruit and egg diet. I only needed to lose a few pounds. And then I said, well, I'll never get more than 10 pounds over my weight. And then it became 20 pounds over, and then 30 pounds over an ideal weight. And I thought my highest weight I would ever be in my life was when I was 139 and a half when I was pregnant. So I was never going over that again. Because after I had the baby, I went down to 102 pounds. Never see that again. And then when I got up over 140, I'm going, well, I'll never get over 150. And I even reached that mark. So diets don't work. You can use any kind of diet, the strawberries and whipped cream or other bombastic diets. They work only temporarily, and they do not work long term. I had the lose weight with 6 meals diet, 6 meals a day diet, because if you eat 1 meal a day, all that same food will gain weight, but if you eat it over 6 periods throughout the day, your body has a chance to burn it up, and you can actually lose weight. You were eating more often and losing weight. And again, that was great. I had the Cataline Enzyme diet that whatever you ate, you finished up with something that burned up that type of food. And each food had a different type. So I've learned something from all the diets. I've learned from body clutter to get rid of the clutter on your body, just like you get rid of the clutter in your home. You have to get rid of it. I love the Picture Perfect weight loss diet. And this diet was a lot better for me than the Think Yourself Thin. Those were tapes you listened to, and that just made me eat twice as much. One of the things I learned in here when I took their quiz, I failed it. Which one had fewer calories? Which one was the better choice? I failed that. And then I found out, oh, wow. If you eat 2 pieces of pizza, you have 900 calories, but you can have a bowl of minestrone soup, a salad, and 1 piece of calorie, and only have 600 calories, so you're saving 300 calories, and you're eating a lot more. And then another one was, this looks like a diet meal, a salad. It actually has 560 calories, but all the food on the other page, you can have a bowl of soup, a salad, a roll, melon, and even some ice for only 410 calories. Now, which of those do you think is going to be more satisfying? You're going to feel deprived over here, and you're actually getting more calories, and most of it is in the dressing. Most of it is in the dressing. And my last example is sweet tooth. If you want sweets, you can have a half a cup of chocolate chip ice cream. That is about 300 calories, or you could have 10 chocolate bars, or you could have 15 plums. Now, it's going to take you a lot longer to eat 15 plums, and you're going to feel a lot more satisfied. So if you feel deprived, you're not going to stay on your diet very long. I even thought about doing the Pray Yourself Thin diet, but that didn't work either. And they said, well, Carol, every time you get hungry, you should be praying about it. And that didn't work for me. But the one that I got a lot out of was the Dean Ornish Eat More and Weigh Less. Dean Ornish is the doctor who researched how to reverse heart disease without doing the surgery. And Dean Ornish is a guy, he loves Ghirardelli chocolate. He can take a little piece of that bar and a month later find another piece of it. Have you ever found yourself breaking a piece off and breaking another piece off? And pretty soon you've got the whole bar done. That was one of the things that I learned, that if you're putting better nutrition into your body, you will feel more satisfied, and the joy of feeling fit is priceless. I learned a couple fallacies. You've heard, use a smaller plate. If you're eating and you can pile all that food up and have a smaller plate, then you don't feel deprived because you have all that food on there. Okay, what happens when you go to somebody's house and now you're used to eating that great big pot plate and you have room on your plate now? You're piling more food on there, so long term, that didn't really work for me. Learning to eat a smaller amount of food off of a big plate is going to last me a lot longer. I was a person, my brother always used to say, Carol, you're trying to put a quart into a pint container. And I felt that I had to eat up to here to know that I have eaten. I eat fast, and it actually takes 20 minutes for the stomach to send the endorphins to the brain that says you've eaten. One of the things you can do no matter where you are, doesn't require any special equipment. I'm shoveling my food in. You can take a bite, put your fork down, and not pick it up again until you have chewed that bite. And one lady, she chewed each bite of her food 30 times and lost 40 pounds, and that was all she did. And it makes people sick when they watch me eat corn on the cob. I snap off one kernel at a time. And they think that's so disgusting. But I like it. It takes me longer to eat. I love it. So I have to find choices that I can live with. And some of these things, putting this down, and I'll be shoveling it in. I'm thinking, put that fork down and wait until you finish eating. And that is not as easy as it sounds. It sounds very easy, but it's a little different, a little hard to do. So to sum up, you are a unique, precious individual, and you have to find out what's going to work for you in the long term. I said, I do not have a weight problem. I have an eating problem. I'm of the theory that if it doesn't go in, it doesn't go on. And I think that, okay, I can't lose weight. If I hiked the Appalachian Trail and I had to forage for food, you can bet my pants would be falling off of me at the end of the trail. So we're always making choices, and you have to make the choices that will free your body of fat. And I can guarantee you that if you make a bad choice, you haven't ruined your life forever. 5 minutes, you're going to have the opportunity to make another choice. Make good choices so you have the joy of feeling fit. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. Now that we've had our impromptu and our prepared speeches today, we're getting ready for the reports and evaluation section of our meeting. To lead that section will be our general evaluator, Rick Barron. Rick is a certified life success consultant and a host of a new program on Anderson Public Access Television titled Cause and Success, in which he presents practical tools that make a wealth of predictable results in your life. Sorry, I should do that again. Cause and Success presents practical tools that make a wealth of predictable results in your life. Watch for that on this station. And now please welcome our General Evaluator, Rick Barron. Rick.
Thank you. It's my role today to introduce the evaluation team, the team that comes up and provides input and feedback to the people that have been brave enough to come up here today to give their prepared speeches. So this is one of the most important parts in my mind of the meeting, because what it does is it helps us grow. It helps us develop our skills, and it really helps us do what we're here to do, and that is improve ourselves and our comfort in being in front of an audience. So our first member of the team is Linda Ketchum. And Linda will be evaluating Mary's speech on Lifeline. Linda is the Area 57 governor. She's completed her Advanced Communicator Gold and her Advanced Leadership Bronze. Please welcome Linda Ketchum.
Mary's goal was to give a speech today using words and arrangements of words that effectively communicated her message to the audience. The speaker should select clear, accurate, descriptive, short words and choose verbs that convey action. The sentence and paragraph structure should be simple and short. I would like to say that Mary did not have a single bombastic word or sentence in her entire speech. She did a great job in meeting the objectives of her speech. One of the questions was the topic appropriate for this assignment? I think it was very good. I think you took a life situation of your friend having this experience of falling and then related it to things that we could do as individuals to protect ourselves. And having been single for 20 years, I truly understand what it's like to be sick at home and not know if anybody's going to even think to check on you. So it can be a little frightening if you're 60 or 40. The words were simple and clear. You did probably one of the strongest points of the speech to me was your ability to paint mental pictures. You did a great job of talking about, the experience of falling in the bathroom and your own concerns with your own health problems. One of the things that I would have liked to have seen you done a little differently was add a little bit more vocal variety, which is a little bit further into the manual. But when you use the help, I've fallen and I can't get up, maybe increasing the little bit of volume or terror in that one sentence would have been a good place to add vocal variety. Your sentences were short and understandable. One of the questions is, did you use rhetoric devices? And I had to look at the definition of what rhetoric devices were, and I'm still not sure whether you use them or not. And since I have spent many years trying not to use rhetoric, I'm not sure you even want to use rhetoric. But that's one of the things they ask. What did I like about the speech? Again, I think it showed great research, a great use of storytelling to get across the point of how important this is for all of us from your personal experience and the experience of your friend. Good job, and I look forward to hearing more speeches. Madam Toastmaster. General Evaluator. Whoever gets it next.
Thank you. The second member of my evaluation team is Christine Sullivan. Christine is a new member to TV Toastmasters, but has been very active while she's been here. So we're very pleased to have her with us. She is looking to learn new skills and techniques in public speaking and has volunteered to be an evaluator today to move her forward in that goal that she has. She'll be evaluating Darren's speech on deal or no deal. Christine?
I was evaluating Darren, and the purpose of his presentation was to enact a role play with another member and actually play the role of a salesperson in a store, basically to convey the techniques that he had outlined in the very beginning, what it takes to be an effective salesperson. I think that you did a really good job. I think you outlined the key steps of what you need to do as a salesperson to convey the message. And by setting that up in the very beginning, I think that you conveyed that in the actual role play session. And I also liked how you set it up with what the definition of persuasion is, so that everyone was very clear in what your end goal in the role play was. In terms of the rapport that you had with the buyer, I think that was there. You attempted to engage him in small talk and talk to him about empathizing how horrible that was and really relaying that to him, and the fact that he lost 17 years of files. I can relate. But also I think that you did ask some initial questions about what caused the problem and how he's dealing with it, but I think that there would have been an opportunity to do a deeper dive in assessing more than just what he's actually using the computer for, doing the deeper dive into what kind of service is he accustomed to, who actually services his computer now. I think that could have been an opportunity for another sale outside of what you were trying to pitch to him. But I also think that in terms of closing the sale, you explained to him the options, you gave him an option to choose, allowing the buyer to make the decision, but I also think you allowed him an out by saying, I'm going to go in the back and get the product. He could have just left the store and you would never know. And I'm sure it happens. And so I think escorting the buyer up to the front cash register and then having someone else maybe go get the product would have allowed that sale to close. But I also think that you did give him options. You gave him, I think, enough background information about each of the items and what they can do to allow him to make an educated decision about it. And I think that overall your pitch was pretty good, maybe a little bit more energy to convey excitement. I think you did state what you thought was the best product, but again, maybe circling back with him to kind of verify what he would need, how he can use it, frequency he would need to back up his materials, how he would actually plug it in, those kind of things I think would help kind of make him a little more comfortable about the product that he's buying. So overall, good job. And I've forgotten his title, so otherwise I would introduce him.
Thank you, Christine. Yep. Thank you. The final member of my evaluation team is Jerome Manigan. Jerome.
Thank you so
for
very
your
much. My task is to offer some comments to Carol Kormelink about her presentation titled The Rest of the Story. It's obvious to me, and I think to all of the audience, that Carol's love and commitment to learning and mastering the techniques taught through Toastmasters was most evident today. Carol, without being bombastic, you demonstrated that you researched the very broad topic of nutrition, diet, and health-enhancing dietary practices. According to the guideline in front of me, I am to offer comments about the subject being of importance to the audience. Well, I think without a doubt all of us are concerned, especially in this time when diabetes and heart problems, high blood pressure concerns are epidemic. I think all of us are concerned about nutrition. I think all of us are concerned about healthful dietary practices. So you did have a topic that was applicable to every member of today's audience. Was the topic well researched? Yes, I think you did an excellent job of researching that material. You provided illustrations, you provided comments from experts in the field. Excellent, excellent. Was the support material appropriate for the points made? I think so. You had books, you had your prop, and you effectively incorporated them into your presentation. Did the speaker vary the type of support material? Yes, you did. How clear was the speaker's purpose? Very clear. You want us to live, and you were telling us what we need to do in order to live. Was the speech effectively organized? I think without a doubt it was. Did the speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety? Body language and vocal variety were appropriate and once again non-bombastic. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? I am one who likes to see people move from behind the podium. So I would suggest, not only to Carol, but to all of the speakers, consider moving away from the podium. It's good to know that you have a whole body, not just a body from the waist up. What did you like about the speech? The important and relevant information about sound nutritional practices that lead to weight loss, weight management, and improved health. And finally, Carol, I was listening to see how many times you said bombastic, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but you're correct. You said bombastic one time. Thank you, Carol, for an excellent speech.
Thank you, Jerome.
Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you for the evaluators who took the time, paid enough attention, and took great notes through the speech to be able to help everybody in improving their speaking skills, because ultimately that's why we're all here, is to improve ourselves in front of an audience. Thank you, everybody, for all of your help today in making this an absolutely wonderful spring meeting. It's my pleasure to return control of the meeting back to Laura Lee Gayfield. Laura Lee?
I agree with Rick. Everything was in the computer well before the meeting time, actually last week. So that was a great help to me to be able to get everything together and not have to scurry at the last minute as Toastmaster and as the VP of Education putting the meeting agenda together. Have a wonderful spring month, and spring is still coming and we'll soon be ramping up for summer, and suddenly instead of complaining of the cold, we'll be complaining of the heat. And until then, we will close our meeting with our president, Darren Henderson. Darren.
Thank you, Laura Lee. Once again, another great meeting. You know, we learned something during every Toastmasters meeting, and just jotting a couple of notes down, we heard a great poem from Don. And Don, you have to go home and try to remember the rest of that poem. So read it next meeting. Carol told us how to lose weight and keep the weight off. Then, of course, we learned how to protect ourselves if we live alone. So not only did we have a good time, but we learned some beneficial information. And one thing I'd like to say about Toastmasters is we do meet the third Saturday of every month, 9 a.m. at the Anderson Center, 7855 Mile Road. But Carol mentioned something about endorphins, and one thing I've said this before, but there's two things, or two times when I feel like endorphins kick into my life, and one is when I go exercise. I always feel good when I go exercise because the endorphins kick in, you feel great. Another time is whenever we have a Toastmasters meeting, and particularly if you give a speech, there is a rush that you get. I don't know if it's endorphins or what it is, but there is a rush that you get when you give a speech or get up here and talk, much like when you exercise. You just feel good about yourself. So once again, I would invite anyone to come down, third Saturday of every month, Anderson Town Center, and join us. It's a great group, and we have a lot of fun. With that, I'd like to thank all of our studio audience. Thank you, those of you in our television audience, and adjourn the meeting of Toastmasters Club 9523.